नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्दस्सा। नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्दस्सा। नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्दस्सा। इतिपिसो भगवारहं सम्मा संबुद्धो विद्याचरण संपन्नो सुगतो लोकविदु अनुत्तरो पुरिसदम्म सारथि सत्ता देव मनुष्यानां बुद्धो भगवाति। नमो तस्स सम्मा संबुद्धस्सा। ये च बुद्धा अतीता च ये च बुद्धा अनागता पच्चुपन्ना च ये बुद्धा अहं वन्दामि सर्वदा। नत्ति मे शरणं अन्यं बुद्धो मे शरणं वरं ये तेन सच्च वज्जेन होतु मे जयमङ्गलम्। उत्तमङ्गेन वन्देऽहं पादपंसो वरोत्तमं बुद्धेयो कलितो दोषो बुद्धो कमतु तं मम बुद्धं यावनिब्बानपर्यन्तं शरणं गच्छामि। स्वाकातो भगवता धम्मो संदीपिको अकालिको एहि पस्सिको अपनायको पच्चत्तं वेदितव्यो विन्नुहीति। नमो तस्स नियानिक सदम्मसा। ये च धम्मा अतीता च ये च धम्मा अनागता पच्चुपन्ना च ये धम्मा अहं वन्दामि सर्वदा। नत्ति मे शरणं अन्यं धम्मो मे शरणं वरं ये तेन सच्च वज्जेन होतु मे जयमङ्गलम्। उत्तमंगेन वन्देऽहं धम्मं च त्रिविधुत्तमं धम्मेयो कलितो दोषो धम्मो कमतु तं मम धम्मं यावनिब्बानपर्यन्तं शरणं गच्छामि। सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो उजुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो न्यायपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो सामीचिपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो। यदिदं चत्तारि पुरिसयुगानि अट्टपुरिसपुग्गल एषा भगवतो सावक संगो। आहुनेयो पाहुनेयो दक्षिणेयो अंजलिकरणीयो अनुत्तरं पुण्यकेतं लोकसाति। नमो तस्स अट्ट आर्य पुग्गला महासंगसा। ये च संगा अतीता च ये च संगा अनागता पच्चुपन्ना च ये संगा अहं वन्दामि सर्वदा। नत्ति मे शरणं अन्यं संघो मे शरणं वरं ये तेन सच्च वज्जेन होतु मे जयमङ्गलम्। उत्तमङ्गेन वन्देऽहं संगं च त्रिविधुत्तमं संगेयो कलितो दोषो संगो कमतु तं मम संगं यावनिब्बानपर्यन्तं शरणं गच्छामि। विपत्ति पटिवाहाया सब्ब संपत्ति सिद्धिया सब्ब दुःखं विनाशाय सब्ब भयं विनाशाय सब्ब रोगं विनाशाय भवेदीगायुकदायक सब्ब लोकं हितत्ताय परित्तन्तं बनामहि। समन्ता चक्रवालेषु अत्र गच्छन्तु देवता सद्धम्मं मुनिराजसा सुनन्तु सद्गमोक्कदम्। धम्मश्रवणकालो अयं बदन्तः धम्मश्रवणकालो अयं बदन्तः परित्तसवन कालो अयं बदन्ता। नमो तस्स भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्धस्सा। महाकारुणिको नाथो हिताय सब्बपाणिनं पूरयित्वा पारमी सब्बं पत्तो संबोधिमुत्तमं ये तेन सच्च वज्जेन होतु मे जयमङ्गलम्। जयन्तो बोधियामूले सख्यानं नन्दिवर्धनो एवं मयं जयो होतु जयस्सु जयमङ्गलम्। सक्कत्वा बुद्धरत्नं ओषधं उत्तमं वरं हितं देवमनुष्याणां बुद्धतेजेन स्वत्तिना न सन्तु पद्मवा सभ्ये दुःखा उपासमेन्तु मे। सक्कत्वा धम्मरत्नं ओषधं उत्तमं वरं परिलाहुपशमानां धम्मतेजेन स्वत्तिना न सन्तु पद्मवा सभ्ये भया उपासमेन्तु मे। सक्कत्वा संगरत्नं ओषधं उत्तमं वरं आहुनेयं पाहुनेयं संगतेजेन स्वत्तिना न सन्तु पद्मवा सभ्ये रोगा उपासमेन्तु मे। यं किञ्चिरतनं लोके विद्यति विविधापुतु रतनं बुद्धसमं नत्ति तस्मा स्वत्ति भवन्तु मे। यं किञ्चिरतनं लोके विद्यति विविधापुतु रतनं धम्मसमं नत्ति तस्मा स्वत्ति भवन्तु मे। यं किञ्चिरतनं लोके विद्यति विविधापुतु रतनं संगसमं नत्ति तस्मा स्वत्ति भवन्तु मे। नत्ति मे शरणं अन्यं बुद्धो मे शरणं वरं ये तेन सच्चवज्जेन होतु मे जयमङ्गलम् नत्ति मे शरणं अन्यं धम्मो मे शरणं वरं ये तेन सच्चवज्जेन होतु मे जयमङ्गलम् नत्ति मे शरणं अन्यं संगो मे शरणं वरं ये तेन सच्चवज्जेन होतु मे जयमङ्गलम् सब्बित्यो विवज्जन्तु सब्बरोगो विनश्यतु माते भवतन्तरायो सुखी दीर्घायुको भवतु सब्बमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सब्बदेवता सब्बबुद्धानुभावेन सब्बधर्मानुभावेन सब्बसङ्घानुभावेन सदा स्वस्ति भवन्तु ते नाकातयकभूतानां पापग्रह निवारण परितस्सानुभावेन हन्तु नो उपद्रवे देवो वसातु कालेन सस्य संपत्ति हेतु च पीतो भवतु लोको च राजा भवतु धम्मिको यं दुन्निमित्तं अवमङ्गलं च यो च मनापो सकुणस्य सद्दो पापगहो दुःसुपिनङ्गकन्तं बुद्धानुभावे न विनाशमिन्तु धम्मानुभावे न विनाशमिन्तु संगानुभावेन विनाशमिन्तु आकाशता च बुम्मट्टा देवनागा महिद्दिक्का पुण्यन्तं अनुमोदित्वा चिरं रक्कन्तु शासनं चिरं रक्कन्तु देशनं चिरं रक्कन्तु मम परं एतावता च अम्मेहि संवतं पुण्यसम्पदं सब्बे देवा अनुमोदन्तु सब्बे भूता अनुमोदन्तु सब्बे सत्ता अनुमोदन्तु सब्ब संपत्ति सिद्धिया निब्बान संपत्ति सिद्धिया इदं नो ज्ञातिनं होतु सुखिता होन्तु ज्ञातयो इदं नो ज्ञातिनं होतु सुखिता होन्तु ज्ञातयो इदं नो ज्ञातिनं होतु सुखिता होन्तु ज्ञातयो सब्बे बुद्धा बलपाता पच्चेकानं च यं बलम् अरहन्तानं च तेजेन रक्तं बन्धामि सब्बसो सब्बे धम्मा बलपाता अर्य सच्चनं च यं बलम् धम्मचक्रस्य तेजेन रक्तं बन्धामि सब्बसो सब्बे संगा बलपाता उत्तानं च यं बलं शासनस्य तेजेन रक्तं बन्धामि सब्बसो इमिना पुण्याकम्मेन मामे बालसमागमो शतं समागमो होतु यावनिब्बानपत्याम् इदं मे पुण्याकम् आसवक्कयं वहं होतु सब्बदुःखापमुच्यतु निब्बानसम्पच्चयो होतु साधु 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 सुखी होंगे so today's chanting, so the discourse or the sutta, as I was telling you, sutta means a streak of the continuation of the Dhamma in a structured way, methodical way, that is suitable for the audience, the present audience, the people who are listening to the particular discourse, that should be suitable for such audience. So Buddha used to speak to different kinds of audience. Sometimes a heterogeneous group, a group full of different kinds of people. Sometimes the same, the homogeneous or the same kind of people in the audience. Sometimes the say the people from other religions, other sects, other schools of thought. For them, he used to address, and that's one different way of addressing them or talking to them or giving discourse to them. And when he was addressing, say, like the royal people, then it should be suitable, or it used to be suitable for the royal people. When he used to address the monks, that is suitable for the monks, for their practice. When he used to address to the lay people, the general lay people, then he used to, if you say a few things which are suitable for the lay people. But this discourse, the protective chantings that we are chanting in the beginning of all our sessions, they are suitable for all kinds of audience because they protect everyone. The common aspect that you can see in all these protective chantings, in all these, say, the beginning chantings, in all our Dhamma Abhidhamma classes, they have that common factor, that is like the faith in the Buddha, the Buddhas, their enlightenment, their supreme enlightenment. The faith in the Dhamma, which takes a person to enlightenment, which helps a person to liberate in an authoritative way. and the Sangha and the qualities of the Sangha. And by having faith in the Sangha, of course, Arya Sangha, like say, it's not like Bhikkhu Sangha, it is Arya Sangha. Arya Sangha means like the Sangha which is, it constitutes, or the members of that Sangha are Aryas. Like those, by practicing the teachings taught by Buddha, they became liberated. So it's called Arya Sangha. Aryas means those who have liberated their mind. At different levels, there are 4 levels of liberating the mind. 4 levels of, say, experiencing Nibbana. So, Sotapanna, Sagadagami, Anagami, Arahant. They are the 4 levels, 4 stages of experiencing Nibbana. So, any one of them, if a person has achieved, whether he is a monk or a lay person, he is called an Arya. Pali, it's called Arya. Arya means a noble. That nobility has come to the mind. From that worldliness, the mind has transcended, it has achieved what is called that nobility. So then he becomes a noble man. And in Pali, it is called Arya. Such a person is called Arya. So all these discourses, they start with having complete inclination, complete interest, or complete faith in the so-called Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Many meditators, many the people who are having a lot of rational mind, it's good, that is very much appreciated, that is very much encouraged in this path. But in addition to that, there should be deep inside, subconscious level, you should be hooked, you should be aligned with what is called this interest or liking towards the qualities of Buddha, Dhamma. If you tune to these qualities of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, then definitely you develop that inclination, that faith towards Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. And automatically it will pull you, your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, automatically it will follow that kind of alignment. And then slowly you start developing your mind in a more balanced, in a more authoritative way, in a more balanced way, and also more peacefulness and joyfulness. There will be no force, there will be no struggle. Once you align yourself towards this Tiratana, 3 jumps, triple jump, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. It's not like a blind faith, or it's not like one kind of enforced faith. Nobody will enforce you. You should have faith in this Buddha, Dhamma. But all, as I used to say in all my discourses, it's all like the expression of Buddha, Dhamma. All these 3 things are the indicators, are the expressions of the ultimate liberation. That's it. Buddha, Jati, so the one who has completely become aware of how the aware of supreme enlightenment. One has completely purified the mind, aware of the present moment at the most authoritative way. One who is aware of the presence, because everything is in the present moment. So that kind of say person is Buddha. It's not like only one historical Buddha. So there were so many Buddhas who have come and gone from this world, not just this Gautam Buddha. And there will be so many Buddhas also who will come and go. And their teachings, each and every word of their their teaching, so it liberates the mind in an authoritative way again, which is called Dhamma. So in that way, having faith in Dhamma, you are not going to lose anything. And having faith in this Arya Sangha, the ones who have liberated their mind by following the Buddha and the Dhamma, that's what is the Arya Sangha, noble Sangha. And by having faith in that and developing the qualities of the Sangha, like say even a householder is following even a few precepts, if he is loyal to them, he can become an Arya. That loyalty to the qualities of the Sangha, qualities of the enlightened ones or the noble ones. That kind of loyalty, if you want to develop, then you should develop some faith in that Sangha, the qualities of the Sangha. So, so that kind of inclination or faith, in all these discourses you can see, you can observe, you can find out. So here also in this discourse, it's called Mahajayamangala. Mahajayamangala Gatha. It's called Mahajayamangala Gatha. Gatha means verses. The Mahajayamangala verses. Like say, there are different kinds of Mangala. So Mahamangala Sutta is there, where you are going to say, remember the 38 blessings that one should have, one should cultivate. So that I think sometime back I've explained a few of them. And then there is one more Gatha, it's called Jayamangala Gatha. Jayamangala Gatha is like prizing the qualities of the Buddha, the achievements of the Buddha, this present Buddha, Gautama Buddha. So that Jayamangala Gatha also sometime back, I mean, in future we will see that. So by say, so there the different quality, different achievements of Buddha, how he could handle different kinds of his enemies, the intellectual enemies, the physical enemies, the emotional enemies. You will face different kinds of enemies. The intellectual enemies are those, like say, with wrong views, they try to counter you, they try to argue you, they try to defeat you. How Buddha could handle them, the intellectual enemies. And the physical enemies, those who want to destroy, those who want to kill you, how Buddha could handle them with compassion. Intellectual enemies also, how with the compassion and also with wisdom, how he could handle the intellectual enemies. And the emotional enemies, the people who are emotionally, they don't use the physical might or the intellectual might. Emotionally, they want to simply defeat you, trouble you, by, of course, sometimes mixing both physical injury or attacking you physically and also intellectually because of their wrong emotions. So such kind of people also, how Buddha could handle, that we can see in the Jayamangala Gatha. And this is Mahajayamangala Gatha that we have chanted today. And in this Mahajayamangala Gatha, so we remembered that how Buddha could fulfill all the parmis and he could achieve the enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. So in that way, that fulfilling the parmis or the perfections. What are the parmis? What are the perfections? Like the different ways and means to purify the mind. What are the different ways and means to purify the mind? Like Dana Parmi, Shila Parmi, Anya Parmi, Kanti Parmi, Adhitthana Parmi. So perfecting the mind, these things. What will happen? The mind gets that maturity, that purity, that absolute purity and maturity. Then it will be liberated. So all the Buddha's efforts to purify the mind, all these different ways and means, that has been glorified, that has been appreciated, that has been prized here in this Gatha. And that's what is actually the real, say, faith is, the real purpose is. If you glorify any person who is having superior qualities, then automatically you will also incline towards the superior qualities. The best thing that you have to glorify in Buddha's personality or Buddha's nature is his ability to fulfill the parmis or the perfections. If you can fulfill the parmis or perfections, then definitely you can definitely incline towards the Buddhahood or that ability to free your mind or liberate your mind. So that has been prized here. And again, what there's one more beautiful thing here is, like say, they're prizing what is called how Buddha is an Osada. Osada means like medicine. So having inclination or right faith in the Buddha That is what is the right medicine. That is the true Oshada, true medicine. This is the main reason why I have selected this discourse today. People have different kinds of medicine. So here they are saying that this is the best medicine. Uttamang varam, Osadang Uttamang varam. So the best medicine is like having inclination in Buddha and his qualities. The same way, the best medicine is having inclination towards the Dhamma and its qualities. And the best medicine is having inclination and faith in the Sangha and its qualities. Okay, so this kind of say inclination towards this Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha is what is very much essential, not just to liberate the mind. Of course, it will happen. Even to have a beautiful, powerful medicine, which will work on many of our physical problems and mental problems, physical illnesses and mental illnesses. So this kind of medicine, how this is a medicine, that's what we should look into. Now, say in this present pandemic situation, people are very much confused. At one point of time, a few months back, they say some remdesivir or some medicine that is very, very effective for say this corona. Now they say it is absolutely useless. Some people, they price some kind of hydroxychloroquine or something like that. Then some people say no, it's not a proper medicine. Lot of debate, lot of very powerful debates. And some people say allopathy can handle this problem. Some people say no, Ayurveda. Again, in Ayurveda, so many versions, so many herbal medicine. No, the medicine that in our food itself we can handle. So there is a lot of confusion with regard to the medicine now to handle the physical illnesses like the present pandemic, the corona. And definitely there is a lot of confusion in the mental, in handling the mental illnesses also. There is greater issues, the greater confusion is there to handle the mental illness. But I can tell you authoritatively, absolutely in an authoritative way, I can tell you, having this inclination to free the mind, liberate the mind, free the mind from defilements, our own defilements, our own enemies in the form of greed, hatred, delusion, jealousy, anxiety, worry, competition, fear, and by making use of the friends or the wholesome things, wholesome factors which are there in our mind, like compassion, awareness, loving kindness, appreciation, awareness in different ways, wisdom to balance the mind. So these things, if you can handle, if you can develop these things, then you can conquer the enemies, like your greed, hatred, and all. So that's what you have to learn. And in this path of freeing the mind, path of liberating the mind, so that's what happens. You are conquering the enemies within you, using the friends within you. So for that, you should have inclination towards the qualities of Buddha, how to perfect the paramis, so that you can also develop the mind, how to perfect the paramis by your actions, by your meditation, and all these wholesome things that you have to do. And also the listening to Dhamma or understanding the Dhamma, how it liberates your mind, and understanding the qualities of Sangha, how it liberates your mind. So in that way, if you incline towards this Buddha and Sangha, and start working on this, then it will be a wonderful medicine for you. It will become a very, very superior medicine. So in that way, it has been explained, it has been glorified, it has been prized as the best medicine. Sakatva Sangaratnam, Sakatva Dhammaratnam. And also in this loka, there is nothing which is a better medicine. Ratanang Buddha Samangmati. There is nothing like Ratana, the gem of Buddha, nothing like the gem of Dhamma, there's nothing like the gem of Sangha. in this existence, that frees the mind, that acts as a powerful medicine. And also, by understanding this, how this is the best medicine, and there is nothing which is better than this. If you understand these two things, then automatically Nati me sarananganyam. So I don't surrender to any other thing which will simply confuse me. Other than this, the qualities of Buddha, very authoritative qualities like the paramis that has to be fulfilled and how to work upon that by practicing meditation and all other actions, wholesome actions. And then the qualities of Dhamma, qualities of Sangha. So in that way, so you can incline towards these mental perfections that will take you towards an authoritative way of liberating the mind. During that process of liberating the mind, purifying the mind, you'll get the best health, you'll get the best happiness, you'll get the best peace of mind. It's not just best, it is the most authoritative way of getting this best health. So again and again, in all the discourses, I repeat this. Of course, it has been repeated thousands of times in the scriptures, just to make the people understand the importance of where the purpose of life and where is, say, how to set the goals as a human being. Developing the mind and liberating the mind is the only purpose of human life. If you don't understand this purpose of human life, if you don't incline towards this purpose of life, then you can't get the true health also. You can't get health also. That's what I wanted to highlight. Some sound is, work is going on now. The new meditation center. Of course, it's a very small center, but still work is going on. Maybe a few more minutes, you may have to bear with this. So this is about this chanting, where say how this is a medicine, how this is an authoritative medicine to handle both physical and mental illnesses, and how there's nothing other than in this world which is superior to this Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha that you should know. Because this is right view based things. All other views which will give you temporary health or temporary happiness, they are not authoritative. They will not help you in the long term. Like intoxicants, which will help you for a short time. It excites your mind. It will relieve the stress and the pain and the suffering for some time. But after some time, again, the problems will aggravate. But this right view approach, so all these things, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, they represent right view. So if you understand this right view meditation, you get the authoritative, superior, the best, and the permanent health. So that's what I wanted to highlight in this, discourse or in this Gatha, Mahajaya Mangala Gatha. Okay. So in the other discourses also, let us understand the importance of this in several ways. From different angles you should understand. Somehow you should develop the right faith and connect to this. Otherwise, whatever meditation you do, it will also be like one temporary excitement or intoxication. Without the proper understanding of the right view and the right view meditations, you can't correctly, authoritatively purify or liberate the mind, and you can't achieve physical health and mental health in a superior way or in an authoritative way. So because of these things, I have to highlight at least some 5 minutes in every Sunday discourse about the importance of right view and connecting to right view, and how this Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, they represent right view, that I want to highlight. And today we'll continue with our discussion on this this Vihi Vinaya, the different suggestions or instructions for the lay people to lead a happy life. And one of the very authoritative suttas or discourses, which will give a comprehensive idea of say how lay people should behave is this Sigalovada Sutta. So we'll continue the discussion on this Sigalovada Sutta. Okay. So previous weeks, of course, last week we were discussing about Dhammacakkapravartana Sutta. Before that, we were discussing this Sigalovada Sutta, and 3-4 aspects about this Sigalovada thing. Like, so blindly do not worship, because there are so many kinds of blind worship among the lay people. They worship a few things absolutely without any sense, without any purpose. So one of the lay persons, this Sigala, he was worshipping the different directions with that senselessness, without having any sense, because he wanted to please his father and he had promised his father. So simply he was doing it in a blind way. So Buddha saw him and he started teaching him the reason why one should worship and what exactly is the meaning of worshipping and whom one should worship. And behind worshipping, what should be the intention in the mind? If you are worshipping the eastern direction, then what should be your intention? What kind of intention you should have? And what is the true way of worshipping the eastern direction, eastern quarter? In that way, he started explaining all these 4 directions and also the upward direction and downward direction, which is the zenith and nadir directions. So in all these 6 directions, when he was worshipping, what should be your intent? What should be your understanding and learning in this worshipping? So that's what Buddha started explaining to this Sigal. So, so the first 2 directions we have seen last week, before last week, 2 weeks back. So that is the eastern direction and the southern direction. The eastern direction, it represents, as Buddha says in this discourse, it represents say the parents and the children, the responsibility of parents to the children and the responsibility of children to the parents. It has been explained. Say in this, while Buddha was explaining about this importance of worshipping the eastern direction. So there the main things, the highlights in that eastern direction, worshipping the eastern direction, that is the parents' duties to the children, children's duties to the parents. So the 2 things that Buddha highlights is parents' duty is to avoid the children to develop the vice, to develop the evil habits or the wrong things, to protecting the children's mind from the unwholesome. That is the prime duty of the parents, and encouraging them to develop the wholesome mind. That is the prime duty of the parents. The same way the children's prime duty towards their parents is, so they should take care of them when they become old, and also even after their death also, they should learn this art of say punyanumodana, so doing some punya, meritorious actions, and sharing the merits of these meritorious actions with the departed parents. That is, there are the 2 highlighting aspects that both the children and the parents should know in this first aspect, the worshipping of the eastern quarters, eastern direction. So then coming to the next direction, after eastern direction, then it's the southern direction. The southern direction, it is the teachers and pupils, the responsibility, the duties of teachers towards their pupils and the duties of pupils towards the teachers. The main highlighting aspects in that is like this, like say the pupil should always be in a submissive state or in a receiving state or in a receptivity. He should always have that, develop that gradient of that he is receiving and the teacher is giving. Kind of humbleness only will help him to gain the best, get the best from the teacher. That only creates the gradient, that slope
then only the teacher will give you the best. By your say attitude, by your behavior, with your words, with your service, personal service. So in different ways, you can create that kind of gradient and that receptivity, and you can get the best from the teachers. And the teacher's duties towards the pupils is like he should protect them, and again he should restrain him from doing the wrong things and encourage him to do the right things, and also provide the safety. And he should not speak ill of them in front of the friends and the companions, and he should instruct them in the different arts and sciences. So the spiritual, not spiritual teachers, it is the secular teachers. So in that way, the teacher's duty is to protect and the child, the pupil from the evil, and to encourage him to cultivate the good things. And whereas the pupil's duty is to develop that humbleness and the receptivity to get the best from the teacher. Now coming to the next direction, that is the Western quarter, Western direction. So in the Western direction, it is the husband and wife, husband's duties towards the wife and the wife's duty towards the husband. This is what we are going to see in this Western direction. If you are worshipping the Western direction, means like as a wife, as a husband, you should know the duties, your duties. So now, in 5 ways should a wife as Western quarter be ministered to by her husband. The husband should take care of the wife in 5 ways. What are those 5 ways? He should be quite respectful to the wife. He should be quite courteous. There should be courtesy also in handling, in dealing with the wife. By faithfulness, he should be loyal. He should not. He should be say loyal, and he should have that commitment, the true commitment towards that family relation with the wife. That faithfulness one should have. By handing over authority, as a wife, she should have some authority. He should not simply overpower and overtake her authority, and she should give a lot of authority to the wife also in handling the domestic activities. By providing her with ornaments, now and then one should give the gifts and ornaments, jewelry, all these things to the wife. So that's what Buddha said. It's quite practical thing, you see, whether it is in the ancient days or in the present day. They say in the ancient India, or maybe the spiritual countries, they don't give respect to the women, but it is very much, a lot of respect has been say given by the men towards their say partners, and it was very much encouraged by the teachers like Buddha. And in the family, she should be like a queen. In that way, Buddha encourages the women, and that's how the men should treat the women, by respect, by courtesy, by faithfulness, by handing over the authority, and also providing the gifts and the ornaments. So in that way, that is the man's duties towards his wife, and woman's duties towards her husband. So in what way the woman should treat her husband? In 5 ways, his wife, thus served as the Western quarter, show her love for her husband. Her duties are well performed. She should not be lazy, or she should not be like say proud and arrogant in handling the family, her house. She has to perform all her duties very well, with complete interest and say commitment and say responsibility. By hospitality to the kin of both. Some places you might have observed the kin of the wife, they will be treated better by the wife, and sometimes they may ignore the kin of the husband. Some places, of course, not a very way, but Buddha is suggesting that the wife should take care of the kin of both husband and wife in a better way. So that hospitality is one of the qualities of the woman, the wife. And then she should be faithful and loyal to the husband, not cheating. She should be loyal to the husband by watching over the goods he brings, and also protecting and watching over the goods that husband brings to the house. That is again one of the duties of the wife. She should protect it. She should take care of it. Again, with watchfulness, with heedfulness, with mindfulness, by skill and industry in discharging all her business. Whatever she is doing, so she should do it with skillfulness and industriousness. So a lot of responsibilities will be there in the house to take care of the house, the children, the relatives, friends, husband's friends, and then and of course so many things, feeding, cleaning, so many things she has to take care of. All these things she has to discharge with skill and industriousness. That is the duty of the wife towards her husband. So in that way, husband and wife, they can worship the western direction. Okay, so the three directions are covered. Eastern direction represents the duties of parents and children, with mutual responsibilities. And then the southern direction represents teachers and pupils. Western direction represents the wife and the husband, the mutual responsibilities of wife and husband. So then about the northern quarter, northern direction. In 5 ways, a clansman should serve his friends and associates as the northern quarter. So one's duties towards his associates and friends, the equals, towards them, what is one's responsibility? He should be quite generous to the friends and the associates. He should not be stingy towards the friends and associates. He should be kind in his words towards the friends and associates. That this is also very important. Taking the things as granted, one should not be rough towards the friends. Even though they are very good friends, if you are not kind in your words, then it will have some negative consequence, the repercussions you may have to face, knowingly or unknowingly. So one should be kind towards the friends, even in speech also, even in your words also. By helping them and acting for their welfare, you should have that helping nature, and you should you should look into the different ways and means to help them so that they can have, and also should think for their welfare. By being sincere to them, you should not be like, say, that kind of cheating thought should not arise, even for, say, even once, even all the time. You should have. That's what is metta, loving kindness in metta towards your friends. Any idea of selfishness or cheating or some kind of arrogance should not creep in. So that kind of suggestion is given by Buddha. So then that way only you can respect the northern direction. Then what is the duty of the friends and associates towards the person, towards this person? They protect him when he is off guard, when he is in a difficult situation. The friend should protect him. They should guard his property when he is careless. When he is heedless and careless, they should protect his property. They are a refuge for him when he is in danger. So generally people seek protection, seek refuge. Immediately they think of the friends. If they are in some danger, in some difficulty, the first thing that will come in their mind is their friend. So if you are a good friend, you should immediately respond to that and protect him. One should consider a good friend as a refuge. They do not forsake him in his troubles. Of course, all these things in different ways Buddha is explaining. When he is in danger and trouble, they should not forsake, they should not abandon him, they should not leave him alone. They should protect him as much as possible. They show due respect to other members of his family, not only to his friend, they should give respect to his family members also. So that is how the true friendship, the friendship becomes, say, more authoritative, more strong, not only to the friend, even to their family members. One should have true concern and true respect. That way, the right bonding can be created amongst the friends. So that in that way, one can respect or worship this northern direction. That's what is Buddha's suggestion to this Sigala. In 5 ways, a master ministers to his servants and employees as the Nadir. Nadir means the downward direction. So in 5 ways, the master or the employer or the master, he has to perform his duties towards his servants and employees. So what are the 5 responsibilities or duties of the master towards his employees or towards his servants? By assigning them work according to their strengths, one should not burden them. If his limitation, one should look into his limitations, and accordingly one should assign the work. One should not overburden the servants and the employees with a lot of work so that they will lose interest, they lose respect towards you. So that kind of mistake one should not do. By giving them food and wages in the right way at the right time, provide them food and wages. Of course, now in the ancient days, the servants, they used to depend on their owners, their employers for the food also. Now, of course, providing wages in time is very important. By tending them in sickness, when they are sick, one should take care of their hospital expenses by tending them. By sharing with them unusual delicacies, when some special food is prepared in your house, you should share it with them. So it's not like, say they're like, one should treat them as, in such situations, as your own children, treat them with that's unusual delicacies or special food. By granting leave at suitable times, when they require leave, you should grant them by correctly assessing the situation. Then you are performing your duties towards the employees and servants. It may be your maids, housemates, or servants, or your employees. These instructions are suitable, holds good. So you can just remember these things. So that suitability, that awareness, what exactly it requires, that kind of awareness based on compassion. This is the key in all these human relations. You should have compassion and you should have awareness. If these 2 things are there, then naturally you will become very easily, you can understand the importance of all these instructions and you can act accordingly. In 5 ways ministered by their master, servants and employees love their master in 5 ways. What are the duties? What are the different ways and means? The servants and the employees, they can show their love towards their master. They rise before him. They go to work before the master. So here, of course, in the ancient days, the servants also, they used to stay in the employer's home. They have to rise before the employer wakes up in the morning. They have to take rest after him. In the evening also, in the night also, they have to take rest after the employer takes rest. They are content with what is given to them. They should not be too greedy. They should focus more on their work instead of developing the greedy thoughts. They do their work well. They should do the work very efficiently, skillfully. They carry about his prize and good fame. They should not say, blame him behind him. So that's called backbiting. You should not tease or blame the employer behind him. So then only you can have a beautiful relation, good relation with the employer. So in that way, Buddha has given the instructions to the servants how they should treat or how they should behave with the employer and how they can respect the employer. That way, they can worship the Nadir, the downward direction. Then in 5 ways should the clansmen minister to monks and Brahmins as zeniths, the spiritual people. Here, the Arhants also called as say Arahants or Sotapanna, Aryas, the spiritual people, the Sramanas and the liberated people, or and also the spiritual who are working for liberation. So that is called the zenith. So how a clansman means an ordinary person, a householder. He should minister, he should behave towards the monks and Brahmins. How they should behave with the monks and Brahmins and the spiritual people. By kindly acts, they should be very kind enough, they should be humble enough towards the spiritual people. By kindly words, not only in the actions, in their speech also, they should be quite kind and humble. And by kindly thoughts also towards the spirituality. Spirituality means like liberating the mind, which is relatively less, relatively rare in this world, in this materialistic world. Such people are quite rare. And if you find out, or if you can see such people, the spiritual people who are working on their mind to liberate their mind, then you should be kind and humble and very respectful towards such people in your actions, in your thoughts, and in your speech also. By keeping open house to them, when such spiritual people come, then you should keep your house open. You should not send them out simply not feeding them or not respecting them. If you don't have anything to feed, you can just respect them. You can just serve them, invite them, ask them to sit and give water and then listen to them. So that itself is a great merit, great blessing. Mangala it is, great Mangala. So such kind of treatment also one should offer towards these spiritual people. By supplying their temporal needs. Temporal needs means like these materialistic needs. Though they are working for freedom or liberating the mind, or they are working it for full time, what you should do. But the body requires some kind of protection, some kind of necessities are there for the body, needs are there, like food, clothing, shelter, medicine. So for such kind of basic requirements for temporal needs, one should support according to one's ability, with respect, gratitude, with concern, with care, with compassion, with an inclination that when I support these things, when I help him to progress in his mental purification, I will also get that punya and my mind also gets freed and will get that inner joy. And that will help me to develop some dedication, some kind of inclination towards my mind's purification. With that understanding, we should support such spiritual people with their temporal needs, materialistic needs. Then in 6 ways, the spiritual people, the monks, Shamanas and Brahmanas, they should minister, thus ministered as zenith quarter, show their love for the householder. These spiritual people, they too have some responsibilities towards the householders or the people who support him, who support them. If you are supporting the spiritual people also have some responsibilities to support you. What is their responsibility? In 6 ways, there are 6 ways the spiritual people can support the layperson. Again, they restrain him from evil. They will contain him, they will restrain him, not to indulge in the evil things. They encourage him to do good. So they help him to keep away from the evil things and encourage him to do good. And they love him with kindly thoughts. With thoughts and their speech and actions, of course, they also reciprocate the same kindness. Whatever way you talk to them or in your say you think about them or you act towards them in the same way, the spiritual people also should be kind enough in their speech, in their thoughts and in their actions towards you. They teach him what he had not heard before. The spiritual people, these elevated people who are working on their mind full time, they teach you what you have not heard before. Some very nice things of purifying the mind, different techniques of purifying the mind. They teach you, and in that way they help you to get the best things. Actually, giving the techniques of purifying the mind is the best gift. as I was telling you, that will help you, that will be a cause, will be a cause for you, condition for you to get good mental health, good physical health, to perform better in the world, in your work, in your dealings with different people, everywhere. This is the main thing. And the spiritual teachers, they should bestow this best gift on the good layperson who is very much concerned about you. The spiritual people also should be concerned about them by bestowing this best gift of providing them the best teachings which they have not heard before, to help them to purify their mind. They correct and purify what he has heard. He might have heard a few things, but he might not have understood correctly. He would not have comprehended it correctly. Then he should correct them and purify it, those what he has heard, by giving a lot of instructions, lot of corrections he should make. That's why I always encourage you to ask questions, so that if there is some kind of misunderstanding or not proper comprehension, then you can correctly comprehend and correctly understand by asking questions. In that way also, the spiritual teachers, they should help the lay people. They reveal to him the way to heaven and the way to liberation. The good spiritual masters, they should reveal to him in the upward journey towards the superior happiness here and hereafter. At a time, it may be difficult for many lay people to get the Nibbana in this very life. But lives after life, they should progress in this Dhamma, progress in the true happiness, the higher superior happiness, and finally they should get the ultimate happiness of Nibbana. So this right path one should show them. In right way, one should encourage them towards the superior happiness, towards the true happiness. That is the duty of the spiritual masters towards the lay people, towards the say their disciples or the devotees who are true to such kind of spiritual masters. These are the different responsibilities of the spiritual people towards the householders. So that represents the zenith. Zenith means the upward direction. The zenith is upward direction. The duties of the spiritual masters and the devotees, and the devotees' duties towards the spiritual masters. That indicates the zenith, the upward direction. The duties of the employers towards employees, employees towards employers. That is represented by the north, the downward direction. The duties of the parents and the children, that is represented by the eastern direction. Southern direction is represented by the teachers, the secular teachers and the students, their duties. And the western direction is represented by, it represents rather, the western direction represents the role of the duties of the husband towards wife, wife towards husband. And the northern direction, it represents the duties of the friends towards the householder, and the householders duties towards their friends. So these are the 6 cardinal directions which represents the duties, what one has to do. In this way only the householder is connected to different people. He is connected to his parents, he is connected to his children, he is connected to his friends, he is connected to his teachers, spiritual teachers, secular teachers, connected to his wife, or a wife connected to her husband. So these different directions, these represent the different ways a person is connected to the other people. And if you understand these different responsibilities, then you can deal with the people, all kinds of people that you come across in your day-to-day life. So here the key aspect, that the summary or the core aspect that one should know is one should develop that kind of compassion towards all the people, and also the awareness of the present situation. If you are aware of your mind, your body, your senses, your duties, then definitely your thoughts, your goals, then definitely you will be aware of the people around you. In all our meditation practices, especially in these right view meditation practices. That kind of awareness also you will develop, that kind of compassion also you develop, and it becomes easy for you to handle all kinds of people based on these different instructions, based on these different guidelines. In that way, regular meditation practice and the different instructions, which will immediately influence you, or it will make you to understand what exactly you should do in a situation towards your friend, towards your employees or employers, towards the teachers or the spiritual masters or the parents or the wife or the husband. Immediately you will come to know if you listen to this kind of Dhamma also, this kind of faith and the instructions which will immediately help you, and also regularly purifying the mind with regular meditation practices. If both these things, if you balance and keep on practicing, keep in touch with both these things, then definitely we can progress in this path. You can handle all the challenges of the life, all kinds of people whom you can come across in your day-to-day life. You can handle them in a very harmonious, very authoritative, in a very skillful way. Okay. So that is about the Sigalovada Sutta. So after listening to this, that Sigala, he becomes the disciple of Buddha, and completely his life, he becomes very successful householder also and disciple also. That is about this Sigalovada Sutta. If there are some questions, just for some 5-10 minutes, you can ask questions. You can send your questions to the coordinators. They will ask on behalf of you. Frame the questions correctly. But all these, anything we have that happens, you don't send it in the chat box to everyone. You can send it to the coordinators. You send it in the chat box, it will create a lot of disturbance. Some of you are sending a few things which are related to the, not related to the mind. So those things you can send it to the coordinators about anything, any problem you're facing. And if you have some Dhamma questions, also you can send it to the host. But if you can't frame it properly, well, say texting it, then you can ask, frame it properly, and you can ask.
Namaste, Banteji. I would like to request everyone to message the questions to either me or Deepali ma'am. We'll be asking them. Thank you.
Vandame Banteji. Banteji, these relationships are like codependent or interdependent, Banteji. Should we like expect something from them? It may be employer, servants, husband, parents. So that has to be complemented always, or it has to be one way, Banteji? Should we receiving the same thing from them, and then we should be giving, or we should be giving and receiving, or it should be one way, Banteji?
If you are an employee, you should understand what is your duty towards your employer. That's what we discussed now, right? So once you fulfill your duties as an employee, then sooner or later, the employer also, he has to understand, and he will reciprocate. And he will understand and he will reciprocate his concerns, his duties towards the employee. And if you are an employer, then you should understand your duties towards your employee. That's what is discussed. So that is the beauty of this discourse. Each direction it represents that complementing or that reciprocating qualities of both these parties: employer, employee, husband, wife, parents, children. So each direction represents the role of children. If you are a child, if you are a son or daughter, your duty is towards your parents, or if you are a parent, then your duty is towards the children. Both these things you will learn when you are going through this discourse. So it's like whether they give or not, after they show their duties, then only I should give. If you keep waiting like this, no, then he will also keep waiting. The other party also. Then in that waiting, the whole life will be wasted. So one should take some action. One should start performing his duties. Then the other person will reciprocate. If you are also waiting, let him perform his duties, and he is also waiting. Then the whole life will be wasted in waiting only. Somebody should take the first step, no? So these are the different first steps. These are the guidelines to take that step. So using these guidelines, one should perform the duties. That just to enjoy that very guideline itself, that very action itself, whether they reciprocate or not, don't keep that in our mind. Or so don't keep say I should do that. That pressure also don't keep in your mind. Just enjoy that very particular guideline and the action based on that particular guideline. Then automatically the reciprocation or what they have to do, they will immediately start doing that. That I have seen. I am very consciously observing different kinds of my relation with the different kinds of people. When once I plunge into action, what I should perform now at this moment towards this person, immediately I get back the same reciprocation, the same intensity, with the same concern, with the same feeling. I have experimented. I did this in different ways. Of course, everybody might have experienced it. It's not a big thing. It's not a great discovery. So one should. The point here is one should not wait. Let them do. After that, I will do. That is one kind of say inferior mind. Such people waiting only, they will waste their lives. That's what we can see also. Many people around us, they simply waiting. Let him do fast, or let her do fast. Why should I show my concern? No, in that very concern, you should enjoy it, and whether they reciprocate or not, that you should not keep in your mind. That very action, you should derive the happiness and forget about it, and you just see how it will be reciprocated. Within a few hours or within a few days, you will get back what you have given. That is the beauty of this law of cause and effect, law of giving and getting back. That way, so there is no need to wait for the other person to perform his duties. Understand your role, understand your situation, just plunge into action, perform your duties, keep enjoying that, then automatically whatever you have to get from these different kinds of people, you will get it. Okay.
Banteji. Banteji, a question from Raju Behra Banteji. He wants to know how to cultivate compassion towards friends who are unwilling. Banteji.
Friends who are
unwilling. Banteji.
See, compassion is compassion, whether it is towards the friends or the enemies or willing friends, unwilling friends, or the animals, or the stubborn people, even the enemies. If you know the art of developing compassion towards your enemies, then what is the difficulty in developing compassion towards unwilling friends? If you can develop compassion towards animals or the neutral people or the person who is somewhere in the other part of the world, other corner of the globe, when you are radiating this compassion based on the understanding that all humans, all animals, all beings who are carrying this body and mind, they have to undergo some oppression, some pain, some suffering. Let them be free from that suffering. What is the meaning of unwilling? So the world is like that. Nobody is a willing friend. Everywhere, some kind of resistance, some kind of unwillingness you experience, even with your closest friend, even with your wife or husband, also, even with your children also. Everywhere that friction is there. In all relations, there is some or the other kind of friction. Definitely it arises. But unwillingness, definitely it will be there in all relations. Just let go and do your duty as like a arise or rather, cultivate that compassion, generate that compassion. Letting go is very, very important. If you keep on thinking about one's unwillingness, then the whole world will look like, say, the people full of unwillingness only. Just let go. What is your duty as a friend at that situation towards him? That you perform and just let go it and then focus on your work. So that is the way to develop compassion. If you keep on looking for unwillingness, resistance from the people around you, then that becomes a negative mind. So all the time you can see only that unwillingness. You can see that unwillingness with everyone. With your close friends also you'll start seeing that. Of course, one should have that judicious or the judgmental mind also to some extent. Automatically the subconscious will give you some indications of the people who are having resistance. But still, to some extent, you have to let go it, and as your duty, you should perform your duty as a friend. But if it becomes unbearable, if you think that it is crossing some limits, just let go and say, oh, focus on your work or focus on some other people with whom you can expect you can get more support. That kind of quickness in the mind, where to let go, where to stick on, where to let go, where to stick on. That kind of flexibility one should have. That's what you learn in meditations. In meditation, not only you get that stability in the mind or equanimity in the mind, you will get that flexibility of the mind also, where you have to stick on, where you have to give away. But compassion should be there towards everyone, whether you have given away, whether you have ignored some person also. For the worldly transactions, he's unfit, you ignored him, but you should have compassion. Compassion is actually towards the bad people also. It's not just towards the suffering people. This I have not told in many classes also. This, please keep it in your mind. Compassion should be more towards the bad people, or the people who are unwilling, non-cooperative, selfish. Just let go them skillfully, but deep inside the compassion you should keep. The same thing holds good with the unwilling friends also. Unwilling may not be a suitable word that you are using here. You may be having some other intention in your mind regarding such friends. Whatever may be the nature of the friend, is a cunning friend or a selfish friend or an unwilling friend or say a resisting friend, or who is not interested in your friendship, you are interested. Be compassionate, that's all. And if he is interested, then there is no need for you also to have friendship with him. You just focus on your work or the people who are more say compatible with you, or who are reciprocating say with your friendship. That way, that kind of skillfulness, that kind of flexibility in the mind also one should develop, and that is possible again by understanding your duties towards the different people around you, and your focus, your goals in the life, and your goal in the spiritual life also, like purifying the mind. If all these things, if you have understood, then automatically that flexibility, when to stick on, when to let go, whom to stick on, whom to let go, all that flexibility also will come to the mind.
Vandami Banteji. Next question is, Banteji, how to maintain compassion in adversity?
Who is the questioner?
Name is not mentioned, Banteji.
Adversity means like this unwillingness is also one kind of adversity. Adversity, of course, it's a wide range. Like the worldly adversities, it may start from a little bit resistance from the people around you. It may some kind of say like catastrophes like this, economic problems, or say health issues. All these things, of course, How compassion one can develop? By looking at one's own suffering, one can become compassionate. By looking at others' suffering, one can become some compassionate. So that suffering, whether it is with me or with others, definitely one should cultivate this compassion and learn this art of cultivating the compassion. And also the ignorance or the evilness or unwholesomeness of others, evilness of others, selfishness of others. Towards that also one should develop compassion, because they are also suffering actually. The evil people also suffering, the bad people also suffering. They suffer more. The ignorant people also suffer. And they are also suffering because of their say ignorance or because of their unwholesomeness. Then what else you can create in your mind? Okay, what else you can generate in your mind other than compassion? The same way adversities for you. Yeah, of course, this is how the very life is actually suffering. The very birth is suffering. This existence is full of suffering. When we are carrying this body and mind, definitely there will be suffering. It's okay. It's not permanent. It is a small phase in the life. It comes and goes. Let me bear it. Let me tolerate it with compassion again. If you resist it, if you become, say, start hating it, if you start hating that adversity, then you are aggravating the suffering. The best thing is to become compassionate. Best thing, you should become aware of why that adversity, what is happening in this adversity, and then use some skillful means to fix it. So that fixing, that skillfulness also comes if you have compassion in yourself, in your mind, towards yourself and the people who are facing that adversity, maybe your loved ones. So compassion is the key, even to get good ideas, skillful ideas to fix that problem. If you start hating that adversity, hating that situation, hating yourself, hating other people, hating the situation, then your mind will become too rigid and you will not get skillful ideas also. You can't be aware also, first of all, then you can't get skillful ideas also. So accept it. By accepting, by understanding that everything is changing, let me accept and let go it. And also that's how this human world is. When we are having this human body and mind, we have to undergo this kind of adversities, ups and downs. They come and go. Let me face it. Let me accept it. Let me be compassionate towards this. Let me get the skillful idea to fix it. In that way only, again, that art of letting go, art of accepting, one should develop again with compassion and understanding. That is the way to handle the adversity. By developing both compassion and also wisdom. And again, it should go on in a regular basis. In one day, you can't become a Superman to develop absolute compassion towards all kinds of adversities, all kinds of people. It should be cultivated, like cultivating a crop, cultivating a tree, or cultivating or handling a child. In one day, your child can't become an expert in all sciences and on all knowledge. Step by step, bit by bit, keep on, you have to work on them, then they become expert. The same way with the mind also. Every day you should practice this wholesome compassion training that we're going to practice in our meditation sessions. First towards me, towards the people around you, step by step. And looking at one's suffering and looking at one's ignorance, one's evilness, one should develop this compassion. Then it will percolate into your psyche. And then it will come to your rescue in the practical situation. In that adversity, it will come to your help. Once we have not developed your mind with compassion and some adversity comes, and then immediately if you think how to face it, then you can't face it because your mind is not ready for that. You have not cultivated your mind with compassion. So that regular practice is a must. Practice in an authoritative, skillful, methodical way, then it will remain in your psyche and it will come to your rescue in such kind of adversities.
Vandami Banteji. Next question is from Keshav Kamble Banteji. He wants to know, Namaste Banteji, expecting something from life partner which are easily possible, and after sharing with life partner, then also we do not get what we want. Then how to handle things, or shall we ignore and let things get continued?
See, always you can't expect everything from life partner. Life partners, of course, the name say, of course, many aspects they're partners. They can help you. They can come to your rescue, but so they have to have some limitations, you know. They too definitely they will have their limitations. Even the Buddhas also they can't help you in all situations. Then how can you expect a life partner can help you in all situations? You should also realize their limitations, and you should find out the solution from so many other people in the world. Say if there is some legal issue, you can't take the help of your partner. You should talk to a legal person, an advocate or a lawyer. If there is a health issue, you can't discuss with you can't get the help from your partner. You should consult a good doctor. The same way, there are so many people in the world who can give you the right solution. So it's not like always my life partner should help me. No, there are so many people in the world who are experts in different fields, and they can give their advice or their they can find out the solution from them. There are some spiritual problems, then the spiritual masters are there. And you may get solution from even your kids, maybe even small children also, if you have an open mind. Expecting everything from the partner, how come it's a universal solution, you know? Of course, getting the solution from one's own mind is the best thing. Other people, they will, whether it's partner or the doctor or the spiritual master or the teachers, they can give you some ideas, some tips, some techniques. Based on your situation, you have to comprehend, and you have to, maybe you can little bit change it, and then you have to use it, and you have to fix the problem. You have to say come out of that problem. It's not always the partner who has to help you in all situations. That very expectation is bad. That will create more problems. Rather than fixing the present problems, it may create more problems. That way I understand the limitation of each and every individual, and accordingly to deal with such people, whether it is wife or husband or parents or children or teachers or pupils, doctor or patient, lawyer or client, whoever it is, any relation, understand the limitations in each relation. Finally, it is you who have to take the final call, the final decision based on the suggestions from different people, and find out who is the right person to give the right situation for this problem. Okay, next question.
Banteji. Next question is from Sudha Banteji. Vandami Banteji, people around us are totally attached to their own belief system, which includes parents, partners, siblings. It's a long time or very momentary to be sharing the same compassion. Well explained, and I understood to be focus on self. Banteji.
Yeah, one should focus on oneself, because you can't fix the world. You can fix only yourself. You should play your role as a father, as a mother, as a brother or sister, as a husband or wife. That's it. The best possible way one should play one's own role. And finally, it is you only. You should work on your mind, cultivate these things like compassion and all these great qualities, great friends which are there already there in your mind. Why should you look for these things from the external world? Cultivate these things which are already there in your mind and derive the happiness from within. Such a person, he can be equanimous in all situations with all people.
That's what is this path is.
Vandami Bhanteji. A question from Chakravarti Bhanteji. Namaste Bhanteji. Please explain me about Paticca Samuppada and 4 Satipatthana Sutta.
You have to attend level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and all these things. Then you will completely understand Satipatthana, Paticca Samuppada, all these things. If you want to understand, then you have to go through all these things. Okay, next question.
A continued message from Keshav Kamble Bhanteji. Thanks for your wonderful Dhamma discourses. We express our deepest gratitude and respect, Venerable Bhanteji, to maintain harmonious relationships with friends, relatives, which are Dhamma techniques to be adopted when they don't reciprocate. Yes, Bhanteji, we have exhausted all the questions, Bhanteji.
Okay, so we'll conclude with one small chant.
Vandami Bhanteji.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa bhavatu sabba mangalam rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanghanubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te sukhi bhaveyang niddukho aham nicha aham viya ida chame sukhi hontu majjata chatavedino imam higammante dhamme satta hontu sukhi sada tato parancharadjesu chakkavalesu jantanu sadhu sadhu sadhu. This dependent origination Paticca Samuppada and this Satipatthana, it will be discussed in level 3 some extent. So after level 3 you can understand. Okay, may all beings be happy and well. May all of you be happy and well.
Vandami Bhanteji.
Thank you, everyone. We are ending the session now.